You are greater than a god, untouchable.
Welcome to my Pathfinder build for 0.3. I had a lot of fun and great success with a similar build in 0.2, and this time around it's been heavily buffed, and there is the possibility of an infinite damage scaling combo between Snipe and Acidic Concoction, which is the new Poisonous Concoction renamed. So, while I don't have access to the fully updated tree, I have done my best with the old one, and I can pretty much guarantee this will work really well. Because I was, after all, one of the fastest to level in the last league, and it's been mostly buffed since. So this is gonna be a strong build, for sure. I have added some useful info in the notes, including early gem cut order. I strongly suggest starting with Contagion, because it's a very nice early AoE skill. I previously liked Frost Bomb, but it's been nerfed by like 50%-ish, so don't use it anymore. So go Contagion, Poisonburst, Vine Arrow, Shield Charge. And this is the core of the build. I know I have a lot of skills and optional skills added here, but I'll try to go through them later and explain what you can use and need to use. So the new skill Toxic Domain is also not included, simply because the planner isn't updated, so I don't have it, but do use it, especially on bosses. Now, uniques are not required at all. This is a solo self-found centric build, which will also scale really well if you have a high budget in trade. And if you have high budget, get Queen of the Forest, but then tune up the evasion to max. Headhunter, Ming's Heart, if you can fit it. Probably not a good combo with Queen of the Forest. But yeah, Sliver Tongue is also very strong, especially if you have Corrupted with one arrow. But a really good Gemini with very high damage and crit will always beat it. So I have added some regex. You can copy this line and paste it into vendors. I think there are also some overlays that paste it automatically for you, but I never use those. This will basically show you useful leveling gear, which I've had to cleverly create patterns for. And early on it will show you strength gear. You can probably swap it to rares after a while. And I also wanted to add a thank you for everyone who commented on the last video. Seems my YouTube comments are the best, and there was some really good info. And thanks to Daniel for pointing out that you can circumvent the Eternal Youth nerf with Chevron's Satchel. So if you want to run the old build with Energy Shield Hybrid, you can, at least in trade. You might not be able to get one in SSF, but if you do, you could swap. I still think Energy Shield might turn out a lot stronger in proper endgame, but I'm also convinced that this will be stronger for leveling and early endgame. So I also added a thank you to Clutch Crit for pointing out the infinite scaling combo between whatever strong skill and Acidic Concoction. My plan was to try Snipe, and it would work in the way that the new Poisonous Concoction is called Acidic Concoction. It no longer can poison, it instead consumes poison to create one very strong physical burst hit. And it can be supported by Impale support, which would then make the next Snipe stronger because of the Impale buff. That buffed Snipe would create an even stronger poison. You simply make sure to have Envenom support and 100% poison chance and so on. and that even stronger poison would then be eaten by the acidic flask to create an even stronger impale, which would create a stronger poison, which would create a stronger impale, and so on. So if that works, that should be really good. I have included it in the skills as optional. So first of all, let's go over the tree. I know many people want to have a path to follow and skip all the crit stuff early on. Progress through the projectile nodes to crippling toxins. Grab the poison nodes here. Evasion is good, it also has movement speed. As soon as you need a bit of accuracy, remember Poisonburst needs accuracy, then grab Eagle Eye, and then you might as well grab the extra movement speed. Completely optional cat-like agility here. Progress up, grab the damage stuff. Through the monk starting area, you should have enough crit that this will, have full uptime pretty much. Grab Flow Like Water, skip the crit. Down here, through the dual socket, pick these up. Pick up Stylebender, down to the other poison nodes, and finish up somewhere at Bestial Skin. So this can pretty much carry your defense if you have a strong chest, and optionally pick up the rest of the evasion stuff here. And then you should be in early endgame. Now you can start pumping the crit. It will depend on your gear, of course, and your budget, or if you're in SSF, but after this you should probably pick the remaining evasion nodes or crit nodes as you please, depending if you want to be more glass cannony or tanky. And this will be very nice. For Ascendancies, start by taking the poison proliferation and then the extra stacks, then Relentless Pursuit and Running Assault. Obviously, if you want Concoction, you have to skip something, but I don't think that will be good too early anyway. So I would at least pick up Contagious Contamination first, at the very least. If it turns out this is very strong, the acidic concoction, then you will simply have to sacrifice something. Could also be that you just spec it on bosses, and because I don't think it will be that great for clear. It's mainly a boss killer node. But yeah, you will probably have to give up overwhelming toxicity when you do it. Depends, if you only do it for bosses, for sure give up overwhelming toxicity. But if you do it as a permanent choice, you might have to give up Running Assault instead. Either way works, it's not very important. So with that said, last of all, when you have a very good evasion helm, energy shield helm, I mean, pick up Subterfuge Mask and Ghost Dance. So over to the skills, and this will look complicated, but really the core of the build is simply Poison Burst and Vine Arrow. If you want to simplify it, you can probably do the entire campaign with those alone. And these both are great for AoE. So Vine Arrow will also snare, so contagion is best when there is really good density of mobs. And if you want to just run and have them chase you and have everything just fall and die on the way. Vine Arrow is always best for bosses. Put down a Vine Arrow, spam Poison Burst. The Vine Arrow will copy a part of the poison and snare the boss and whatever you AoE a bit. And of course you can combine all three if the density is really good and they have high HP. Don't pick Plague Bearer too early. Early on you don't do enough poison damage and it's too slow to build. So the first spirit pick will be Wind Dancer, and pick Plague Bearer second when you have more spirit. This will show a whole lot of warnings because it doesn't support that I can use the supports as many times as I want, but just ignore them for now. So for Contagion, Magnified Effect, Persistence, I tried to not add too many supports. There are other good ones, but to not make it too spammy and not create 6 links on every slot, I just took the very best. Poisonburst Arrow, obviously for poison, so deadly poison, comorbidity. Pinpoint critical, because it is a starter build, but you will outscale this at some point. When you have really good gear, this will no longer be the best, and hopefully everyone knows by now that in Pathfinder building you can click. As long as it is the active skill, you can click on a support and it will sort by DPS if you have it selected. Sort gems by, and then pick combine DPS, which includes culling and so on. So to know when to switch, just import your character, check if there is something better, and here it is like, yeah, maybe concentrated effect, but I don't want less AoE. I don't want these that create a cooldown, and so on and so on. So this should be the best setup. I also really like mobility for comboing with running assault, but I added simply the highest DPS here, and these work really well. Plague Bearer, same thing here, same as last league. Nothing there has changed as far as I know. Wind Dancer, when Wind Dancer procs, it does a physical hit. This physical hit, if you link it to Maim, Blind and Venom, it will maim, blind and actually kill weaker packs. So it's kind of nice. Toxic Growth was heavily buffed. Now, previously it locked you in animation. It did great damage, but it was really dangerous to use. Now it has become a rain skill, and while it's not been explained exactly what that will do, if this becomes spammable, it could turn into one of the strongest skills in the whole game. And if that turns out to work really well, you should probably swap Poisonburst to Gas Arrow. It can use similar support still, but then you will just put one Gas Arrow down and spam Toxic Growths into it. Sadly, haven't been able to test it at the time of production. I have not tried 0.3. And on Toxic Growth, we don't want it to poison. So not using any poison supports here, because this is the skill we spam. So something else can build poison stacks and also poison Toxic Growths and pop them, while the Toxic Growths are for burst damage. So nothing poison here. Direct damage. Ghost Dance, and again, this is for when you pick up Subterfuge Mask. Fast Forward works on its stacks. Precision, optional aura if you have Spirit, because again you need accuracy for Poison Burst. Shield charge no longer has a cooldown, just needs attack speed and so on. Despair, same as previously. Gain tempo, heightened cursed, focused cursed. You can have Hex Bloom if you want. I have it unchecked because it adds mana cost and you might not want it, but you can have it if you want. Makes it spread when enemies die. Withering Presence, one of few ways to reliably apply Wither. Exactly the same as before. It works with persistence, makes it stack more, last longer. These are optional. I have them unchecked. Cannibalism, really good for life builds. Herbalism for flasks. Decompose, it's not important. It is just something I pick up sometimes on the offset wand if not using unarmed. You can have Decompose there, and now since you can use all the supports as many times as you want, you can have some really nice supports on it. Previously it was kind of hard, you had to use whatever leftovers you had. And now we come to the juicy stuff here. Snipe, which will combo with Acidic Concoction, if that is not nerfed and if it works as we assume. So again, on the Concoction, which consumes all poisons to create a big physical hit, will simply have the maximum damage. Critical, overextend, deliberation, concentrated effect, because this will mainly be a boss killer, not something to use for mapping, at least in my setup. And Impale. So this will create a really big and juicy Impale, and the Snipe will create a really big hit from the Impale buff and poison. On Snipe, of course, you might have to adjust some poison chance. You might have to use Envenom. I will add it here. And you will probably have to swap some passive nodes around. Pick up, for example, the poison chance here instead of here. See what else is needed. Remains to be seen when we try it. And yeah, if this works, it will be incredibly strong for pinnacle bosses, but I don't think it will be much use for clear and so on. So I will try it. If it works, it will be amazing, but yeah, we'll see. Max damage. Make sure poison chance up. Impale on Acidic Concoction. Raw amount, completely optional. It is really good if you don't use running assault, but if you do use it, you can't use Plague Bearer, which is very strong AoE. Some quick notes about items as well. Again, I did not create an armor set because it simply doesn't support deflection yet, and I didn't want to just make some random garbage. But worth mentioning, here is a realistic Gemini bow that I made last season in Solo Self-Found. This is quite a bit more damage than Sliver Tongue, but Sliver Tongue is still so much nicer for clear. So it will lose a fair amount of damage, still clear so much better. You can, however, if you don't use Sliver Tongue, I recommend putting fork support on your Poisonburst. So I'll add it here as well. unchecked. And yeah, if you don't use sliver tongue, use fork. I hope that covers everything. As soon as the planners are updated, I will make proper versions on Maxroll and on POB. But until then, I hope this is useful and see you at launch.